You ever open your phone just to check something, and 20 minutes later you're neck deep in someone else's perfect life? One person's in Greece on a yacht. Another just bought their dream home. Someone else is 22 and already retired. And then, there's you, sitting in your room, still trying to figure things out. Suddenly your progress, your joy, your life doesn't feel like enough. And here's the dangerous part. This isn't just a moment of envy. It becomes a habit, a lens, a way of seeing yourself. Every scroll is a silent message. You're behind. You're not successful enough. You're not attractive enough. But what if I told you that this constant comparison is not only unfair, it's unnecessary? What if the peace you've been searching for isn't out there, but within? The ancient Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, predicted this very problem long before Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube ever existed. They warned, don't tie your happiness to what others do or think. Tie it to your own actions, your own values. This video isn't about deleting your apps. It's about reprogramming your mind, so social media can't control your self-worth. If you've ever felt like you're falling behind in life, this is the reset you need. Let's take back your peace, the Stoic way. Part 1. The comparison trap. Why you always feel behind. Let's be honest, we all do it. You're just casually scrolling, not even thinking about it. And then you see someone's post. They got promoted. They bought a house. They lost 20 pounds. They're engaged. And suddenly, you feel like your own life is stuck. It's subtle at first. Just a small thought in the back of your mind. I should be further along. Why don't I have that yet? You didn't feel this way 5 minutes ago. But now, everything feels less exciting, less successful, less enough. This is the comparison trap. And in today's world, it's not just common, it's constant. See, comparison used to be local. You compared yourself to classmates, coworkers, neighbors. But now, it's global. You're comparing your life to a curated feed of influencers, celebrities, millionaires, and strangers you've never met. Their highlight reels become your standard. And here's the problem. You're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's trailer. Their best angle, best moment, best edit. Against your tired, unfiltered, messy reality. No wonder you feel like you're behind. But you know what the Stoics would say? You suffer more in imagination than in reality. Seneca, that imagined version of their perfect life, it's not real. And yet, it has power over you. Only because you gave it that power. Epictetus said, it's not events that disturb us. It's our judgment about them. The photo of someone's success isn't the problem. Your interpretation of it, the silent story you tell yourself, that's what hurts you. And social media? It's an amplifier of those judgments. You don't see the failures. You don't see the loneliness. You don't see the therapy sessions, the panic attacks, the debt. You just see the car, the body, the view, the smile. And you assume they must be happy. You forget, people post for attention, not truth. Most of what we see online is filtered, not just through apps, but through insecurity. The people you compare yourself to are often just as lost, just as anxious, just as unsure as you are. But they know how to pose. So why does this comparison feel so addictive? Why do we keep going back for more, even though it makes us feel worse? The Stoics would say, because we've forgotten what truly matters. Marcus Aurelius wrote, ambition means tying your well-being to what other people say or do. Sanity means tying it to your own actions. Let that sink in. Your peace, your happiness, isn't supposed to depend on other people's lives. That's slavery of the mind. True sanity, true peace, comes from focusing on your own actions, not theirs. But how often do we actually do that? How often do we wake up and immediately go into someone else's world, through a screen, before we even check in with ourselves? We've already absorbed the pressure to be someone else. The algorithm doesn't care about your peace. It cares about your attention, and comparison is its favorite weapon. Every time you scroll, it feeds you the next person who seems to have it all. Not to inspire you, but to keep you hooked. Why? Because envy is profitable. The more you feel not enough, the more you chase trends, the more you spend money, the more you stay online looking for validation. But validation is a black hole, and comparison is the gravity that pulls you in. So what's the alternative? The Stoics believed in living by internal standards, not external applause. You don't need to become the best in the world, just better than you were yesterday. That's the only fair comparison. That's the only one that matters. Because your path is yours, and no one else gets to define what your progress looks like. The moment you realize that, really realize it, is the moment comparison loses its grip on your soul. Part 2. The Stoic shift from external approval to internal alignment. Let's imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and nobody could see what you do. No one could like your photos. No one could comment on your life. Would you still do the same things? That's the Stoic test. Are you living to impress or to improve? Most of us, without even realizing it, have let other people's opinions become the steering wheel of our lives. What we wear, what we post, what goals we chase, all subtly shaped by what we think will get us approval. But here's the core teaching of the Stoics. Your peace should never be up for public vote. Let's break this down through the eyes of two Stoic giants. Epictetus, born a slave, and yet one of the freest minds in human history, and Marcus Aurelius, emperor of Rome, yet obsessed with humility and self-mastery. These two men lived wildly different lives. One had nothing, the other had everything, and yet they arrived at the same truth. You only control your mind, your values, and your responses. Everything else, not yours. Epictetus taught this idea relentlessly to his students. There is only one way to happiness, and that is to cease worrying about things which are beyond the power of our will. That includes likes. That includes opinions. That includes success defined by society. And Marcus Aurelius wrote in Meditations, "It never ceases to amaze me. We all love ourselves more than other people, but we care more about their opinion than our own." Read that again. We say we love ourselves, yet live for others' approval. That's the contradiction Stoicism forces us to face. Imagine if you began measuring your life not by likes, followers, income, or milestones, but by how often you acted according to your principles. Did I show up today with integrity? Did I control what I could and release what I couldn't? Did I live today as if I had no one to impress, except my future self? Now that is a different way to live, but it takes courage, because you're stepping out of the game of comparison, the game of performance, the game of being seen. You're no longer a contestant in the race. You're simply walking your own path at your own pace. That's what the Stoics called living according to nature. Not nature as in trees and animals, but your own nature, the rational, moral, calm part of yourself that knows right from wrong. You weren't born to impress. You were born to grow. The Stoics believed that the ultimate human achievement wasn't fame or wealth. It was character. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." So instead of avoiding discomfort, the Stoic welcomes it, because it reveals who they are. Now, what happens when you stop comparing yourself to others? At first, you might feel lost, because for so long, you've let their milestones become your map. But slowly, you find something deeper. Your values, your standards, your rhythm. You begin to define success in new ways. Not, am I rich yet? But, am I becoming more generous? Not, do they admire me? But, am I proud of how I handled that situation? Not, am I where they are? But, am I going where I truly want to be? That's when your life begins to feel real again. Not curated, not filtered, but grounded. And here's something powerful. Once you stop looking outward for validation, the pressure fades. You're no longer chasing someone else's timeline. You're no longer weighed down by the illusion of not enough. Because enough is no longer a moving target. It's a principle you define for yourself. Marcus Aurelius said it simply. If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. and this you have the power to revoke at any moment. So when you see someone else doing better, remind yourself, that's their path, their story. You don't know what they've sacrificed. You don't know what demons they're hiding. And you don't need to know, because it's irrelevant. The Stoic asks only one thing. Am I doing my duty to myself today? That's it. Because real peace begins the moment you stop chasing someone else's definition of success and start building your own. When you do that, you become unshakable. And that's the true Stoic shift. From needing the world to clap for you, to walking forward with quiet confidence, whether they notice or not. You see, when you live by external standards, you're like a boat without an anchor. Every wave, every opinion, every achievement you didn't get rocks you. But when you live by internal values, you're anchored. The storms still come, but they don't move you the same way. That's why Epictetus said, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. It starts with defining who you want to be, not what others think you should be. Ask yourself, what kind of person do I admire, and am I living like them? Am I chasing things I truly value, or just reacting to what I see around me? Would my 10-year-old self be proud of who I've become, or confused by who I'm trying to impress? Because here's the hard truth. You can win the game of status and still lose your soul. The Stoics challenge us to zoom out, to stop measuring our worth by metrics that change every day. Today you get 100 likes, tomorrow 10. Today you feel ahead, tomorrow behind. It's a treadmill. You run and run and run, but you're not getting anywhere. The Stoics say, step off. Step off the comparison treadmill and walk your own path, even if it's slower, even if no one's watching. Because the goal isn't to go viral. It's to go deep, deep into your values, deep into your work, deep into the quiet confidence that comes from living in alignment with who you're meant to be. This isn't some lofty philosophy. It's a daily practice. It happens in moments like this. Choosing not to scroll right after waking up. Saying no to something that looks shiny but feels wrong. Doing the hard thing that no one else sees, because you know it matters. That's the Stoic shift. It's invisible, it's internal, but it's life-changing. Because one day, you'll realize. You haven't felt jealous in a while. You haven't needed validation in a while. You haven't asked, am I behind, in a while. You've just been focused, present, building, becoming. And that is what freedom really feels like. Social media wasn't built to destroy your peace. But that's what it's doing, silently, every single day. When you wake up and check your feed before you even check in with your own thoughts. When your first emotion of the day is comparison or lack, you've already lost the battle before the day has begun. But here's what most people never stop to consider. You're not just consuming content. You're absorbing expectations. You're inheriting invisible standards that were never yours to begin with. You're being pulled into a silent war, a war over your attention, your identity, and your values. And the algorithm? It doesn't care about your well-being. It only cares about one thing, engagement. And nothing engages like insecurity. Every time you compare, you scroll longer. Every time you feel not enough, you click more. Every time you chase a version of yourself that isn't real, they win. The more anxious you are, the more addicted you become. The Stoics would have seen right through this. Marcus Aurelius warned, the things you think about determine the quality of your mind. So what is your mind filled with? Other people's photos? Other people's numbers? Other people's achievements? That's not inspiration. That's mental clutter. And if you don't curate your digital environment, your thoughts are no longer your own. Stoicism teaches you to guard your mind like a fortress. Because when your mind is unguarded, anything can enter, and most of it will poison your peace. Epictetus said, if someone succeeds in provoking you, realize that your mind is complicit in the provocation. Social media provokes you 1,000 times a day, but you allow it. That's the hard truth the Stoics would make you face. So let's ask a powerful question. What is your current relationship with social media? Is it intentional or automatic? Do you use it, or does it use you? For many of us, Social media has become less of a tool and more of a trap. You pick up your phone to relax, and 45 minutes later you feel worse than before. Why? Because most feeds are built on performance, comparison, and excess. Not truth, not depth, not virtue. And Stoicism is all about virtue. That's why the Stoics would urge you to ask, what is this content making me value? Do I value authenticity or aesthetics? Do I value wisdom or attention? Do I admire character or clout? And here's the thing. You can't train your mind in Stoicism while bathing it in content that constantly contradicts it. The Stoic path isn't just about journaling and quotes. It's about discipline of attention, who you follow, what you consume, what you tolerate. These things shape your mind more than any book ever will. So if your feed is full of noise, if your content diet is high in comparison and low in principle, you'll feel lost, no matter how much you meditate. That's why the first step isn't to delete all your apps. The Stoics weren't escapists. It's to become conscious, because consciousness is the real cure. Ask yourself, what am I looking for when I scroll? Am I escaping something? Am I looking for validation I should be giving myself? If you can bring awareness to your scrolling, you can begin to reclaim your power, and you can start to shift your relationship with technology from compulsive to conscious. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Social media is an outside event. You don't control it, but you do control what you feed your mind. You control how often you check it. You control who you follow. You control how much of your identity you tie to what you see there. And if you don't control those things, someone else will. The Stoic warrior doesn't fear the battlefield, but they come prepared. Social media is today's battlefield, and your mind is the prize. So don't just scroll through life unconsciously. Don't just consume, reflect. Don't just react, respond. Remember, peace isn't found in what you see online. It's found in what you choose to believe and what you choose to ignore. The real flex isn't going viral. The real flex is being free. Part 4. Building Inner Standards, the Stoic Way to Self-Worth. You've detoxed. You've stepped away from the noise. But now what? What fills the silence left behind when you stop comparing yourself to others? That's where most people get lost. They remove the poison, but forget to rebuild the foundation. So here's the truth. If you don't define your own standards, the world will define them for you. The Stoics knew this. That's why their lives weren't driven by trends or applause, but by virtue. Marcus Aurelius wasn't chasing fame. He was chasing excellence of character. He wrote, "Just that you do the right thing. The rest doesn't matter. Not how it looks. Not how people react. Just, is it the right thing?" That's the mindset of a Stoic. And that's what building inner standards really means. Let's break it down. 1. Know what you actually value. Most people think they know what they value. But really, they're just absorbing what they've been told to value. Think about it. Do you really want to be rich? Or do you want to feel secure? Do you really want attention? Or do you want to feel seen and understood? Do you want to win? Or do you just want to stop feeling like you're behind? If you don't question it, you'll chase goals that don't belong to you. Epictetus said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." And those few wants, they should come from you, not from your feed, not from your peers. Write down the 3 to 5 core values you believe in. Not what sounds good, what feels true. 2. Create a personal code of conduct. Once you know your values, you need to turn them into action. This is your Stoic code, a simple internal rulebook you live by. For example, if I say I value discipline, I wake up when I say I will. If I say I value honesty, I speak the truth even when it's hard. If I say I value peace, I don't chase arguments online. It sounds basic, but most people don't live by their values. They just say they have them. A Stoic doesn't need to announce their code. They simply live it. 3. Let your past self be your only competitor. The moment you compare yourself to others, you give away control. But when you compare yourself to your past self, That's where power lives. Ask yourself, am I more honest than I was last year? Am I more focused than I was last month? Am I more calm under pressure than I used to be? Marcus Aurelius said, look within. Within is the fountain of good. The real scoreboard is inside you. And the only player that matters is who you were yesterday. 4. Don't confuse popularity with progress. This is a big one. Just because something gets likes doesn't mean it's meaningful. Just because something is praised doesn't mean it's virtuous. The Stoics were often misunderstood, even criticized. But they didn't care. They weren't aiming to be liked. They were aiming to live in alignment with nature, reason, and integrity. So ask, would I still do this if no one ever saw it? Would I still make this choice if there were no reward? If the answer is yes, that's your standard. That's what it means to act with self-respect. 5. Honor effort over outcome. In the Stoic view, results are external and not always in our control. But effort, intention, integrity, that's all internal. That's all you. Epictetus said, you may not control the situation, but you can always control how you respond. So even if your project fails, even if your work goes unnoticed, even if your goals take longer than expected, if you acted with discipline, with focus, with patience, you've won. That's a standard no one can take from you. And ironically, when you focus on the process over the prize, the results tend to follow anyway. Final reflection, from external noise to internal compass. You live in a world that constantly tells you who to be. Be richer, be prettier, be faster, be louder. But Stoicism invites you to flip the script. Be wiser, be calmer, be disciplined, be true. That's what building inner standards is about. Not becoming better than everyone else, but becoming better than the version of you that once needed everyone else's approval. Because the day you stop measuring your life by the noise outside and start living by the truth inside, that's the day you become untouchable. That's the day you become free. And that is the Stoic path. Part 5. The 5-step Stoic detox, reclaiming peace in a noisy world. Up to this point, you've learned the why. Why comparison traps you. Why social media manipulates you. Why Stoicism sets you free. But let's get practical. Because wisdom without action is just noise. The Stoics didn't just write poetic quotes. They lived their philosophy. And if you want to regain clarity in the chaos of the modern world, you need to do the same. So here it is, a 5-step Stoic detox ritual to protect your peace and recenter your mind. These aren't just tips. They're tools to train your inner fortress. Let's walk through them. Step 1. 1 day a week. No socials, only silence. Pick one day, any day, and log out. No Instagram. No TikTok. No YouTube. Nothing. Instead of scrolling, sit. Instead of reacting, reflect. At first, you'll feel uncomfortable, maybe even anxious. That's your addiction talking. But over time, you'll start to notice things. Your thoughts become clearer. Your breathing slows. Your attention sharpens. Marcus Aurelius used silence to examine his life. 1 day a week, give your mind space to breathe. Peace requires stillness. Step 2. Nightly reflection, the daily comparison inventory. Before bed, take 5 quiet minutes. Ask yourself, where did I compare myself today? How did that affect my emotions, my choices, my focus? Then ask, was that comparison useful or toxic? Don't judge, just observe. The Stoics believed in reviewing each day before sleep. Seneca said, when the light has been removed and my wife has fallen silent, I examine my entire day. This nightly inventory builds self-awareness. And awareness is the first step to transformation. Step 3. The Stoic lock screen. Your phone is the front door to distraction. So place a mental guardian at the gate. Pick one Stoic quote that speaks to you. Make it your lock screen. Here are a few powerful options. Don't explain your philosophy. Embody it. Epictetus. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Marcus Aurelius. Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. Epictetus. Every time you reach for your phone, you'll be reminded. You're not here to compare. You're here to choose your mind, not lose it. It's a simple visual trigger, but it can redirect your day. Step 4. Curate your feed like a philosopher. Most people follow accounts that entertain. Few follow accounts that elevate. Ask yourself, does this content fuel my values? Does it inspire me to live better or to feel worse? Unfollow anyone who triggers unhealthy comparison, and follow creators who teach wisdom, depth, perspective, not just aesthetics. You become what you consume. If your diet is all sugar and no substance, your thoughts will feel the same: fast, shallow, and unstable. A Stoic doesn't consume unconsciously. They choose carefully because their mind is sacred ground. Step 5. The Sunday Values Reset. Every week, set aside 10 to 15 minutes to reflect. Ask, what did I chase this week? Were those goals truly mine or borrowed from someone else? Did I act in alignment with the virtues I claim to value? The Stoics lived by a code, a personal constitution. You can create your own. Pick 3 core values you want to embody. For example, discipline, integrity, compassion. Then, ask each week, how did I honor these? This reset keeps you from drifting into shallow goals. It realigns you with what matters most, your character. Epictetus reminded his students daily. First, decide who you want to be. Then act accordingly in all things. Bonus practice, the morning Stoic check-in. Before you check your phone, check your mindset. Ask, what would the wise version of me do today? One question, one pause. That's all it takes. You're not here to impress. You're here to express what's already within you. Start your day from the inside out, not the outside in. Final thought. The Stoics didn't wait for the world to become peaceful. They built peace within themselves, despite the chaos. In a world screaming for attention, choosing silence is radical. In a world chasing validation, choosing values is revolutionary. These 5 practices aren't just hacks. They're acts of rebellion in a distracted world. Reclaim your time. Reclaim your focus. Reclaim your peace. The algorithm is loud, but the Stoic within you? It's quietly waiting for you to listen. Ending, reclaiming peace, the Stoic way. You were never meant to live this way. Waking up, grabbing your phone, and instantly feeling behind. Like you're running a race no one explained, with rules that keep changing. Every scroll whispers, you're not enough. And somewhere along the way, you started to believe it. But let me ask you, who decided what enough means for you? Was it you? Or was it the algorithm? The truth is, you were never supposed to live by someone else's timeline, someone else's image, someone else's approval. The Stoics knew this long before social media ever existed. They knew peace wasn't something you found out there. It was something you built in here. Epictetus was born into slavery. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. Yet both men believed the same thing, that real freedom is mastery over your own mind. And that begins the moment you stop asking, how do I look to others? And start asking, am I living according to my values? Because when you stop performing for the world, you start transforming from within. You reclaim your energy. You rebuild your clarity. You remember what actually matters. Not likes, not followers, but character, integrity, peace. So today, just pause. Not to scroll, not to compare, but to ask yourself one question. If no one were watching, would I still live this way? That one question can change everything. This is your turning point. This is your quiet rebellion. And this is how the Stoic life begins.